I've lost 2 brothers and my father. And the hardest part of grief? It's not the loss itself. It's everyone expecting you to be over it when you're still just trying to breathe. Grief doesn't have a timeline. It doesn't follow stages. And it doesn't end just because other people are uncomfortable with how long you're taking. I'm Elmarie, and today we're talking about what grief actually feels like. Not the sanitized version, the real one. When you lose someone, people give you a few weeks, maybe a few months of grace. They check in. They say, "Let me know if you need anything." They're patient with you. And then slowly there's the shift. They stop asking how you're doing. They change the subject when you mention the person who died. They tell you that time heals all wounds, or that your loved one would want you to be happy, or that you need to start moving forward. The message is clear. Your grief has an expiration date, and you've passed it. But here's what they don't understand. Grief doesn't end. It changes, it shifts, it becomes part of you. But it doesn't go away just because a socially acceptable amount of time has passed. I lost my 2 brothers and my father. And I'm here to tell you what grief actually feels like when you're living it. Not what people think it should look like from the outside. First, grief is not linear. You've probably heard about the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Like there's a checklist you work through and then you're done. That's not how it works. Some days you're okay. You laugh. You enjoy something. You feel like maybe you're healing. And then something triggers you: a song, a smell, a date on the calendar, someone who looks like them, and you're right back in the raw, early grief, like it just happened yesterday. You think you've accepted their death, and then you get angry all over again. Why them? Why now? Why did this have to happen? You think you're past the bargaining stage, and then you catch yourself thinking, if only I had done this differently, or maybe if we had caught it earlier. Grief isn't a path you walk from start to finish. It's a spiral you move through. Sometimes forwards, sometimes backwards, sometimes sideways. You're not regressing if you have a bad grief day after months of feeling okay. You're not failing at grief, you're just grieving. And grief has no schedule. Second, grief is physical. Nobody tells you that grief lives in your body. Your chest feels heavy, like there's a weight pressing down that makes it hard to take a full breath. You're exhausted, not tired from doing too much. Tired in your bones. The kind of tired sleep doesn't fix. Your body aches, your head hurts, your stomach is either constantly nauseous or you can't feel hunger at all. You forget things. You walk into rooms and don't remember why. You lose words mid-sentence. Your brain is so consumed by grief that there's no room left for normal function. Some people can't sleep. Some people sleep too much. Some people can't eat. Some people eat constantly, trying to fill a void that food can't fill. And then people tell you to take care of yourself as if you're not doing everything you can just to survive each day. Grief isn't just emotional. It's a full-body experience. And if you feel physically terrible while grieving, that's not weakness. That's normal. Your body is processing loss, and that takes a physical toll. Third, grief is lonely. Even when you're surrounded by people, grief is isolating. Because the person you would have talked to about this, they're gone, and nobody else gets it the way they would have. Because everyone else's life goes on. They're complaining about traffic or work drama, and you're thinking my brother is dead, and you can't relate to their problems anymore. Because people don't know what to say, so they avoid you, not out of cruelty, but out of discomfort. Your grief makes them uncomfortable, so they stay away. Because everyone grieves differently. Your family is grieving the same person, but in completely different ways. And sometimes that creates distance instead of closeness. And here's the loneliest part. People expect you to comfort them. You lost your father, but now you have to manage other people's emotions about his death. They cry to you. They need reassurance. They need you to tell them it's okay. And you do it. Because you don't want to be a burden. Because you don't want to make it worse. Because you're grieving, but you're also still expected to function and care for others. So you grieve alone, in stolen moments, in private, in the shower where nobody can hear you cry. And that loneliness? It's one of the hardest parts of grief. Fourth, grief changes you. You're not the same person you were before the loss. You can't be. Loss rewrites you. Your priorities shift. Things that used to matter don't anymore. Things you took for granted suddenly feel precious. Your relationships change. Some people can't handle your grief and they disappear. Some people surprise you with how they show up. You learn who your real people are. Your tolerance for superficial things evaporates. You can't do small talk anymore. You can't pretend to care about trivial things. Life is too short and too fragile for that. You become more aware of mortality, yours, everyone else's. Every goodbye feels heavier because you know it could be the last one. Some people become more compassionate, more patient, more present, because they know how quickly everything can be taken away. Some people become harder, more guarded, more cynical, because if this could happen, anything could happen, and the world isn't safe. There's no right way to be changed by grief, but you will be changed. And people will expect you to go back to normal, to be who you were before. But you can't. That person doesn't exist anymore. You're not broken, you're not damaged, you're just different now, and that's okay. Fifth, grief doesn't end. This is the hardest truth, and the one people least want to hear. You don't get over losing someone you love. You don't heal and move on like they never existed. You don't reach a point where it doesn't hurt anymore. What happens is you learn to carry it. The grief doesn't get smaller. You get bigger around it. You build a life that includes the loss. You find ways to keep living while holding the grief. You have good days where the grief is quiet, and you have bad days where it roars back with full force. And both are normal. You think of them less often, but when you do, it still hurts, just in a different way. You can be happy again. You can laugh, love, enjoy life. But there's always this undercurrent of absence, this awareness that someone is missing. And on certain days, anniversaries, birthdays, holidays, random Tuesdays, the grief feels as fresh as it did in the beginning. People will tell you that time heals all wounds. It doesn't. Time gives you practice at living with the wound. Time teaches you how to function despite the grief. Time softens the sharpest edges. But the grief? It stays. It becomes part of who you are. And that's not a failure. That's love. That's the price of loving someone deeply. When they're gone, the love doesn't disappear. It transforms into grief. You carry them with you in the grief for the rest of your life. So what actually helps when you're grieving? Permission. Permission to grieve for as long as you need. Permission to have bad days years later. Permission to be changed by this. Community with other people who have lost someone. They don't try to fix you or rush you. They just sit in the grief with you. Therapy. Not to get over it, but to learn how to carry it, to process the layers of grief that come up over time, letting yourself remember them, talking about them, not pretending they didn't exist because it makes other people uncomfortable, finding small ways to honor them, not grand gestures. Small, private moments where you acknowledge the space they left behind. And finally, giving yourself grace. You're doing the best you can. Some days, getting out of bed is the best you can do. Some days, you can function almost normally. Both are okay. There's no right way to grieve. There's no timeline. There's no finish line. You're not grieving wrong if you're still sad. You're not being overdramatic if you're struggling. You're not dishonoring them by eventually finding joy again. You're just human, loving someone who's gone. And doing your best to keep living in a world that no longer has them in it. If you're grieving right now, please hear this. You're allowed to take as long as you need. You're allowed to still be sad years later. You're allowed to be changed by this. Grief is not linear. It's physical. It's lonely. It changes you, and it doesn't end. But you're not alone in it, and there's no right way to do it. This is Haven Space, where we talk about the real, hard, messy parts of being human. If this resonated, subscribe. Let's keep having these honest conversations. And if you're grieving someone right now, I'm so sorry. I see you, and I'm here with you. I'll see you in the next one.